Amidst a clutch of cordial reunions, one slightly corpulent figure stands out. Thomas Brolin cost Leeds £250,000 for every game he played during a rather unhappy spell in Yorkshire. Crystal Palace took him on initially for the cost of his bed and breakfast. Now they are paying him enough to afford his evening meal as well. He's one of 5 men facing former employers here and surely requires little motivation. Andy Linnigan is the other former Leeds player in a Palace team deprived by injury of Lombardo, Padovano, Shipley and Warhurst. So Mark Edworthy finds himself in central midfield. Marcus Bent was signed from Brentford earlier in the month. David Hopkin and Nigel Martin are the Leeds returnees. George Graham has won his tug-of-war with South Africa over the services of Lucas Radebe, whose presence should stiffen midfield, but options are limited. In fact, Leeds have used fewer players than anyone else in the Premiership, just 17, while record signing Valerian Ismail, or Valley as he'd like to be called, is the 31st player to represent Palace, and that's more than any other club. Uriah Rennie is in charge today, as he was for Palace's impressive win at Elland Road back in August, when it was very sunny and very warm. Palace, though, have this extraordinary record of being the only senior club in English football without a home league win this season. And I'm afraid to say that if they fail to break that duck today, they're going to set a most unwanted club record. Leeds in the halved shirts, vivid colours from either side, and plenty of early boos for Thomas Brolin. And again, doubtily dispossessed by Hopkin, and then blocking Kelly's clearance. Radebe, Harry Kewell has Robertson outside him. That's aimed more towards Hasselbaink. Apart from all the players, the Leeds manager is also facing one of his former clubs. He ended his playing career here and started his coaching career at Selhurst. Aguero forehead to forehead with Brolin. Now it's Robertson. Tackled well by Edworthy. And that knock to the head that Thomas Brolin sustained in an aerial challenge just a moment ago seems to have had a belated effect. He wandered around in a rather dazed fashion for a few seconds, and then his legs just seemed to go from under him. That was the clash of heads. It involved Ribeiro, that was the Leeds player, and Brolin initially seemed to be okay. And he's being led towards the dressing room. No suggestion of a substitution at this stage. But presumably he may need a stitch or two. Kelly. And Wallace is onside this time. Only the keeper to beat! Straight through his legs. Rod Wallace scores in the Premiership for the first time in 2 months. On the transfer list or not, he remains a potent force. Palace down to 10 men with the departure of Brolin. And they clearly lost their concentration as the Swede was still being led along the touchline. Wallace kept his and scored as he pleased. Penny for Steve Coppell's thoughts at this stage. On the far side of the pitch, complete with head bandage, comes one side's hero and the other side's anti-hero. Thomas Brolin is back with us after 6 minutes off the field. Palace are restored to their full complement. Hasselbaink. Muscular figure, Hasselbaink. Shot was deflected! It's 2! I'm sure the touch off the defender was what really defeated Kevin Miller. No sooner had Rod Wallace gone level with him as Leeds' top scorer than Hasselbaink goes back in front. And it came off Andy Linnigan, a former Leeds player. So Palace's home form, again, is fairly woeful. Dyer. Tangling with Gary Kelly. And the free kick is given to Crystal Palace. Much to Gary Kelly's disgust. Andy Roberts is lining this up. And met by Herederson. Always a threat at set pieces such as that, which Palace have worked on endlessly in training this week. Broly. The boos are getting louder, if anything. Oh, and then the clearance from Kelly is completely done for his head bandage. He looks rather like a punch-drunk boxer. And this is not proving to be a happy return against his former employers. It just strikes me that having been off the field for the first goal, he probably thinks it's only 1-0 as well. In which case he's got a rude shock awaiting him. Really, they should ask him to go off and have it seen to again. Roberts. Lost it to Wallace. And in a straight race between the two of them, it wouldn't be a contest. 3 in the box for Leeds. Wallace with the cross. Hopkin. "17 goals for Palace last season and only 1 for Leeds this." But the ease with which Wallace escaped down the right flank was fairly alarming from a Palace perspective at least. Edworthy. Dyer. Now for once has he got the legs on Weatherall. It's a useful cross. Kicked away by Kelly. Ismail. Oh, dangerous place to lose it. Leeds, you sense, are not quite going for the jugular. It's a more measured approach with this 2-goal lead. That was oh so casual by Smith. Harry Kewell. 2 strikers to aim for. Wallace, and that was goal-bound before it struck the posterior of Herederson. Usual Leeds routine, a group of players waiting for the cross. Kicked out by Bent. Hopkin. And Palace not even looking, half of them, at where the ball is. This is Hopkin. And really, Palace deserved to concede a goal, because at least half of their backline weren't even looking at the ball as it was played from Kewell to Hopkin. They were busy regaining their positions, having thought they'd repelled the attack, and suddenly it was action stations. And had Hopkin controlled his shot just a little more, it would have been 3-0. Some people are never happy, it seems. Herederson. Smith. Edworthy, referee's whistle is in his mouth, and he brings to a conclusion a half that Leeds have for the most part dominated. Palace have had a deal of possession but haven't done much with it. Rodney Wallace was gifted a first goal by a general lack of concentration on the part of the Palace backline as Thomas Brolin was receiving attention off the field. And just after Brolin had returned, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbaink, the Premiership's most exotically named striker, made it 2-0, which is a pretty fair reflection. Leeds' task would appear to be simple. They hold on to what they have. For Palace, their job would appear to be Herculean, given not only the scoreline but also the way in which they've been playing. Thomas Brolin's medical update reads 3 staples and 2 stitches. Bent. Dyer. Well, he was falling backwards and he was under pressure from David Weatherall. But even so, at this level, it's a very presentable opportunity. Roberts. Smith. Radaby didn't get much purchase on the header. It's a good one. Now towards Bent. Quick thinking from Edworthy. Setting up Bent. Radaby made the block. Roberts. Slightly deeper this time. Kicked off the top of Haaland's head. Gordon! Well, that was a bolt from the red and blue. No real suggestion he was going to have a dig, as he used the full shovel. Lineker. Gordon. Dyer. On for Bentz. Radaby. Well, he made brief contact with the ball, and it was just enough to nick it out for a corner. The captain of South Africa was at full stretch. Roberts, as ever, with the set piece. Bentz. A fraction too high to be able to keep it down. And also, it was a relatively late arrival. If there is hope for Crystal Palace, surely in the memory of last season's FA Cup tie, when Leeds were 2 up here inside 7 minutes and ended up having to save a last-minute penalty to get a 2-2 draw. Roberts. Hopkin. Those two were teammates this time last year. Wallace. Hasselbaink is... Well, he started to make his run, and then he was pulled down by Dean Gordon. Well, the very least is going to be a yellow card. Dean Gordon. So if he's protesting that he shouldn't be booked, then it's not an argument he's going to win. There was, though, no way that Hasselbaink was going to be allowed to pass. Another Leeds goal at this juncture would just about kill the game off. Quarter of an hour remaining. And it's taken square to an unmarked Hopkin on the volley! Not the most watchful piece of defensive play you've seen from a side. Very late to get to him. Brolin took the free kick, it hit Haaland, who hadn't retreated, and Alfie Haaland is going to be booked. Not been on the field long, but he's the 6th player to see the yellow card this afternoon. Andy Roberts. Rivero let it go, and it was nearly an own goal. Linnigan that got the header down. Ball put out of play, but that was a stroke of good fortune for Leeds. And amongst those looking particularly relieved in the centre of the field, apart from George Graham, the manager, is his captain David Hopkin, because he was right in the thick of things. Dean Gordon. Paradison is scooting forward in this attack. Roberts, as it's a time for fairly desperate measures. Jamie Smith, 5 to aim for in the box. This is Paradison! The former Palace keeper denies his old team. I have a suspicion that the ball was arrowing towards him, but it still needed good reflexes. Rowley. Driven a bit more, that one, and the header was from Paradison. And this clearance from Martin could cause Palace 1 or 2 problems. Now that Smith has allowed it to bounce, it's Rodney Wallace. probably as good a chance as the one he scored from. Smith seemed to dither underneath Martin's long, hefty clearance, and Wallace just dragged it past the post. 4 minutes to go, and a first taste of the Premiership for 19-year-old Lee Matthews, a striker from Middlesbrough, who scored on this ground at the end of last season the goal that clinched the FA Youth Cup for Leeds United. He's on in place of Hasselbaink, and Matthews' first touch has set Wallace clear. Palace are struggling to get back. It's Wallace, and it's a fine save, but still the danger isn't away. Beaten out by Miller. Matthews. Palace not helping their own cause. Edworthy. Weatherall. It was a good time to come on as a substitute for your debut. That time is now. The power of the shot that posed the greatest threat from Rod Wallace. One to sting the palms. Heading towards 4 minutes played of stoppage time now. Won by Radebe, and that's the final action. And a harsh reception greets another home defeat for Crystal Palace. George Graham saw his side score twice in the opening quarter of an hour. But Crystal Palace have now set a new and very unwanted club record of 12 home league games at the end of last season, and all of this without a victory. It is the worst sequence at Selhurst Park in the club's history, and it threatens to drag them beneath the tidal wave of trouble at the foot of the Premiership. Plenty of effort from them, but precious little direction. And if home really is where the heart is, one just wonders whether Steve Coppell and co shouldn't consider a transplant.